Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Today is our special guest day, where we will hear from a friend of the ministry who will share their insight and stories on truth in this chaotic world. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Guest Thursday, and today we have very special guest, our great friends, Melissa. Oh, yeah, and Dave's there, too.
And Dave.
Melissa and her husband.
Yes.
Dave and Melissa Dunkel, and you have a beautiful backdrop. Where exactly are you guys?
We are sitting in our place up in New Hampshire and enjoying the summer up here. We fled the sweltering heat and humidity of Tampa, over a couple of weeks ago now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And came up here to the mountains to enjoy our time up here. We've got kids up here, grandkids here. We got the dogs up here, so we're just enjoying it. This is
Weather's a little bit nicer too, right?
yeah, it's actually a little warm today, but we'll probably head down to the lake, and the dogs
Nice.
go swimming and just running around. So it's actually a great time. We've enjoyed it. We've gone out and done walks and stuff. The bugs are a little bit heavy so far this summer, though. So we're hoping that they'll vanish soon. But it's been great. We've enjoyed our time up here.
Do you still have the boat out on the on Golden Pond?
Yeah, we went on it. We took the grandkids out, and we have a tube that we pull behind it. And so last year, they call me Bidoo. Bidoo shanked it and started too soon, buried the nose of it, and they all got dumped. They would not get back on the tube until I offered financial incentives. So Reese, who's the adventurous youngest one, I said, Reese, if I give you $5, will you get on the tube? She looks at me and goes, yes. So she got on the tube, and older brother Walt, for the same deal, $5, got on the tube too. So
and
then
you
they
regained
enjoyed
their
it.
trust.
Yeah, I was very careful to not dump them this time. And then there's a jumping rock that would go off, and they wouldn't do that either. So I had to up the ante and put another $5 a piece in there. So they wouldn't wait either until we got back to the dock. They needed their $10 right there on the spot. So I paid up, and summer's off to a good start.
That's awesome.
I'm going to have to, when I see him, I'll have to teach him negotiation, because I said, man, you could have raised the stakes in Opa through Grandpa, and he would have paid up. Yeah.
Walt
got
was
leverage.
Walt was trying to get me to 20, but
20. Come on.
held firm. And then he tried to get me for every time he jumped off the rock. He said $5 for every time. I said, no, it was a one-time deal.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful. And so you guys are up in New Hampshire for the most of the summer, right?
Yeah, we'll be here. We've got several activities. I've got K-Force board meeting starts next week. C12 board meeting coming right after that. And then we got a couple weeks off. And so we'll both be going back to Tampa. Melissa's got her a National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. They've got meetings and things that she's got to go back for. I got a couple things I got to go back for, including a C12 meeting. And then we'll come back up, and we have a young adult retreat, which is a follow-on to the one that we did last year. And so we can talk about that in a little bit. So we've got, I don't know how many folks will we have, 10, 15 people coming up for that.
Fun.
And then we have a couple folks that coming. Rick Ferris's group down in Rhode Island has got somebody, and I think Scott may trust us with his son. We're not sure. Scott and Kristen Cornell. So we've got a couple spots left. And so then right after that, we've got the dinner that we're doing, which Kathy and Dan have been a part of the plan for his mansion and Lydia's house, which you guys had Teresa on as a guest. the Fireball Teresa.
She is something, right?
She's a pistol. She is a pistol.
Yeah.
So we've got that dinner for Labor Day Friday night, and then we have the Woodsy Stock Festival Day after that, and then we get a break.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be
Get to
talking about
relax
that.
a little bit.
And Melissa,
Yeah.
I know that you do fundraising for your foundation. Talk a little bit about that. I know recently, because I actually got to see, I didn't get to see you there in the video, but I watched ESPN, and it was on ESPN with Tom Brady. So tell us a little bit about that and what your experience was like with him joining you with his new hairdo.
Yeah. So the really short version is 30 years ago, myself and another mom started a foundation that raises money for pediatric cancer research when our daughters had the disease. And so way back then, I did a whole lot more fundraising than I do now. We actually just kind of participated in an event called Cut for a Cure, where professional athletes will shave their heads or color their hair if they don't actually want to shave their head, to raise money for research, of course. And awareness is really the beautiful thing with teams like the Buccaneers and of course Tom Brady. So the Buccaneers have been just amazing. Our hometown team, they just jumped in, raised I think $117,000.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, Tom Brady was just a trooper. He was in there, the kids were just messing with him and coloring his hair, and it was just a feel-good event all the way around. So have a lot of fundraising experience, I guess, over the years and a variety of levels. So that was kind of how the dinner evolved, is maybe I could use some of that to help some of the nonprofits up here. So
Yeah. The
truth of the matter is that Tom just wanted to meet Melissa.
Yeah, right.
So I was watching him very closely to make sure that he behaved.
He was great.
Well, Dave,
it was cool watching the little kids doing it too.
Dave, did you ask Tom to bring his wife, Giselle?
No, Giselle, for some strange reason, Giselle didn't want to meet me. I don't understand why. Probably exercising good judgment.
You should invite Tom and Giselle to the Woodsy Stock dinner, right?
Well, there you go. We'll see if he shows up. That's actually
probably a little busy that week.
Yeah, that's season.
Oh yeah, maybe.
He's probably not going to make.
He may have a game to play.
Yeah. Let's hope.
What was he like, Melissa? How was it with him?
I honestly really didn't interact with him too much, but he was just fabulous with the children. He was just genuine. He was real. And he wasn't just there to be there. He was there because his heart was in the right place. And
that's nice.
Like you could just tell, like the way he conducted himself, that he was all in. So
you could see the genuineness in him. And the fun that he had with his other teammates, because he was doing the other teammates, they were shaving their heads and spray painting them and doing all kinds of stuff. And he was over there helping them out and having fun with them. And then when the kids came in, he really gave them the attention and signing autographs and whatnot. I mean, real genuine person. It wasn't forced at all.
That's great.
You can see why he's the leader that he is. And why people and the teammates respond to him the way that they do. He just loves it. He's just a really cool guy.
Yeah,
that's great. Really important question. Did he shave his head or did he have his hair colored?
He had it colored.
Okay.
It was just like spray color.
That would have made too much of the news.
Right.
Yeah. We attended a fundraiser here in Denver with Peyton Manning was there, and I had Linda and Aiden. First of all, he was super nice, and he spent quite a bit of time talking to us, including with Aiden and Linda.
Oh, that's great.
Lucy Ricardo.
He was probably entertained by
Lucy
Linda.
Ricardo got Peyton Manning laughing, and it was pretty funny. So, and it's really fun when guys at that level of skill actually, have a desire to be personable and friendly, and and you can tell it wasn't fake. They actually think that way. So it's kind of cool.
Well, you can see the authenticity.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys are in your second year of marriage. Maybe we could talk briefly about third year. Is this your third year now?
Yeah, they celebrated anniversary number 2, right?
Going into 3. Okay.
The good news for me is that Melissa had a 1-year guarantee. and she didn't cash it in. So she got to the end of the year and tore up the receipt.
I still have it, but it's another story.
Well, hey, Melissa, you've already found out that he's he's willing to pay. So
There you go, right? To
$5.
get with you on those negotiating
$5.
skills. Yeah.
So how's it been going now in your third year, and how's your walk with God going as you process that as a couple? And it's any couple coming together has to walk together. So how's that going?
Yeah, I would say that we've made a lot of progress. It's unity isn't an event; it's a practice, it's a lifestyle. So we've put in a lot of effort and gotten a lot better. I would say we still got a long way to go, but we both were used to living independent lives and just making decisions, like buying RVs and stuff, right, honey?
Yes.
But the good news is that we know that the first fruit of abiding is forgiveness, and we've been putting forgiveness into practice. But it's been a lot of fun. Actually, we've processed out life changes, difficulties, challenges, life events, all kinds of stuff that's happened, and we've done it together. I would say that for me personally, I'm grateful because I never knew that I could have a wife in this kind of relationship. I'm finally getting a glimpse of what God intended marriage to be, and to have a wife like Melissa's been to me. So it's been awesome.
Beautiful.
Unfortunately, my brother said to me, we saw my brother recently and his wife, and he said, boy, we really like Melissa. You did really good this time. I said, yeah, unfortunately she didn't.
I beg to differ. No, yeah. I would agree with Dave that, when you're used to just, running a company and making, calling the shots there, and, really just flying solo, that it's hard. You just really don't even understand what unity is supposed to look like, let alone be able to just automatically throw it into practice. It's not intuitive necessarily. It just takes time and work, really, and focus, and holding each other accountable. Like, hey, not being afraid to throw it out there and say you missed the mark, and then or agreeing that you did miss the mark, and
yeah.
And so what's been the number one way of how you guys have shifted that? Because that is a completely different thing. You're both very successful, independent people. And so what like hard practices, kind of disciplines have you had to put in that are helping you to really reprioritize that and restructure?
Probably just that we sit down once a week and really make a time to do that, so that
that's good.
If there's a conflict previously in the week, by Tuesday we've calmed down and have had a chance to think about it, and just sort of politely lay it out there in a way that's not antagonistic or hurtful, but can
that's good.
Really process it through and just think about what the issue might be, and I think the other part is just being, for both of us, being willing to listen to not criticism, but just, hey, to check.
Right.
And say,
to be able to safely communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Without
and
getting
to
defensive.
Receive it as well as give it.
Yeah.
Which is not always easy. So
what is processing? You say processing. What does that look like for you guys? How do you dialogue through and then seek God's will together, and then have confirmation that you feel good about now the answer? So when you said you take the time, which takes time, what does that look like in terms of processing, specifically for how you guys are doing it?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of factors. One is just the things that are coming up in life. How do you feel about this? Just simple calendar things. I mean, the calendar things, I think, changed dramatically when Melissa sold her business and I stepped down as CEO. And so we're both in the house. And so trying to figure out how we respect each other's space. And we both still have activities that we want to focus on. So we do that, but allow ourselves to have space. And then when we come together, we'll talk about something and say, what are you seeing here? How are you feeling about this? Would you like to do this? Or something comes up that is something we got to deal with right then and there. And the good thing about being in the house, I spent a lot of time discipling people, and so Melissa gets to hear some of that, and she's actually going to start doing that this fall with some of the women in the church. But she actually has input and insights as we're doing that. I've been doing Experiencing God with people, abiding, and so having the opportunity to have someone listening, and a great example, we had one of the guys that I've been discipling who had cancer, and I'd shared the story before, and he had gone through, actually had a supernatural healing of part of the cancer that he had, and then they found another cancer. What was it called? That what it was? The
Kraft mutation.
Yeah, the Kraft mutation. And so I was actually on a Experiencing God call with somebody, a discipling call. I get a text, I need to talk with you right away. And so Melissa was there, and I said, well, let me call you right back. So I got on the phone with him, and he said, I've got a question about this, and we're trying to discern God's will about where to go for treatment.
Which clinical trial?
Clinical trial, where to go. So the two of us were going back, and Melissa and I were going back and forth with him and asking questions. And she remembered a conversation that we had been having about a guy that we had talked about possibly being a part of her foundation and awarding a grant. So she said, I remember this trial. So she went online and found out that actually he was the guy that was running this trial. And so, it was just this really cool thing how God brought Melissa and I together to speak into it, to give him an answer through circumstances, the word, and him coming to us. And his wife then, they both called us back. Actually, we called them back after and said, look, we found this is it. You need to go to Virginia Cancer Institute. This is where that we believe that God's saying you should go. So be praying about that. They received confirmation, went in, and you had to be accepted into the program. I think they had one more opening, and he was accepted in right away. And so awesome. I actually was able to connect them with the person, and Melissa's actually going to be working with them as a judge for one of the grants that they're doing. So it's just this really cool thing, how the two of us got to experience a supernatural thing of God and doing it together to bless another person.
Yep.
That's awesome. I love that.
As you, I know you teach this, put some feet to that relative to the ask, seek, and knock process of coming to understanding, and something actually we talked about this morning in our leader call was pursuing truth that leads you to God's will. So kind of frame that up so everybody can understand exactly how you went about that resulted in God's answer, which is miraculous.
Yeah, it was it all started 10, 12 years ago, where this guy, we had acquired their firm, and I had been bearing witness to him. He wasn't a believer, and I had given him a Bible, and I put like $20 in it, and he kept it. I guess I should have given the 20 to Walt.
Yeah.
He kept it. And I learned about a year ago that he had developed cancer, and God said, now is the acceptable time. And so I reached out to him, and I said, Don, would love to talk to you. I heard about what's going on. And would you be open to talking to me about it? So I got on the phone with him and said, where are you in your walk with God and your faith? Long story short, ended up as a result of that, leading him to the Lord. He had this supernatural experience as a result of it. And, Rich, you always teach, it doesn't matter where you are in your maturity level, that God will get to you.
Right.
I mean, I saw God speaking to him and him receiving things, that I haven't seen with a person who's been walking with him for 10 years.
Right.
That's awesome.
And so he's just receiving all this stuff and asking all these questions. And, it was a thrill. I mean, I just get goosebumps even now thinking about how cool God is that he just went right away to him. And so he built this this relationship with us in the process. And because of Melissa's experience with cancer, and I don't know anything about it, but she knew all about it. She knew how to find clinical trials online. She knew how to find the drug companies that were doing it, the research, and all of it. And so while Don and I were going through this, Melissa was doing the research. And so she was asking questions, and we were literally praying with him about what's the best place to go. Is it Johns Hopkins? Is it Virginia Cancer Institute? And while we were doing that, Melissa goes, there's something here. There's something here. And that's when she remembered, oh, wait a minute. This is the guy. This is the guy that we were talking about. And so we called him back, and it was literally just walking it out together, and God using the Spirit to prompt Melissa, to prompt me, go back to Don and his wife. Two of them were praying. They called us back. I made the introduction, and next thing you know, he's in and he's going through the trial now. And so we don't know what the outcome of the treatment will be. But his faith has grown so much as a result of the supernatural healing he already experienced with one form of cancer, and how God's been interacting with him. And this is a guy who's been walking with God and been a believer for 1 year.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's just I think too, he was in the valley and he was ready, and probably God had been like tapping him on the shoulder all along, and found the opportunity. So
and he's just thirsty. Just wants to know, and he jumped in, and we had the abiding study online. We had like 62 people, and I was facilitating it online with the K-Force in Tawanda, who you guys know, and so Don was on that, and just listening to the questions, and just always right there, always on it, lots more going on. So whether or not he is cured of this mutation, I don't know. I haven't received that, but I do know this, that his eternal destiny is secure, and whatever role I played in that, or Melissa played in that, we'll all be rejoicing in eternity to see it.
Yeah, and when the you described it, it's hard to explain it. But Melissa, Dave said that you were you're involved and you were pursuing it, which you were just seeking, and then all of a sudden you said, wait a second, and Dave said there's something here. Could you help the audience describe what does that feel like, look like, and you were willing to kind of what I call pay attention, like and then God said, let me show you what I'm doing, and led you to what, interesting enough, something that you'd been exposed to a whole bunch a long time ago, and God connects dots, and I know it's hard to describe that because it's not that easy, but what does that look like that you actually said, I'm going to pay attention to this?
Well, in terms of the ask, seek, and knock, I think when you're dealing with people that are in such a tough spot, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just always find it helpful to be really just logical and try and remove all of the emotion and ask the questions,
right.
About this trial versus that trial, just to see where they are.
Yeah.
Because you want to be really careful, about saying, well, this is what I think, don't
right.
want to do that. So you
right.
just ask like where they are, right? And try and glean as much information as you can. And then, as they were talking, I began to sort of seek knowledge just online, looking, as Dave said, at, the different clinical trials, and who was running them, who was behind them, what was it, an established drug already? Is it just a compound that they're testing? Like, what were the details of it? And the one that was in Virginia was, in fact, a biotech company. It wasn't actually a drug yet. And so it was, like a phase 1 clinical trial where they're just phase 1, 2, where they're just trying to establish dose toxicity and see, what can happen with this drug, what the possibilities are. And so just digesting it all, and we kind of ended the call, and like something was just nagging at me after we hung up, and I went online and I was like, oh my gosh, I know this guy. And I said to Dave, what was the name of that guy? And he couldn't remember. And I said, was it? And he's like, yeah, that's him. And literally what it felt like was all the hair on my arms and neck stood up. Like I love it. I tingled from one end to the other. Like it was crazy, the coincidence. And so I said, you got to call him back. You got to call him back. And so, yeah, that was just.
It was one of those spirit moment, divine moments, because we both were like, whoa. And how God had just prompted her. And all of a sudden, it's like, here it is. It's right in front of you.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
But the cool thing is, Rich, and you always teach us, is it wasn't just one thing or the other. He actually will take what we already know,
right,
and experience and physical knowledge and experience that we've had, and combine it with the Spirit leading to get us to the answer. Really cool. That was fun, and I got to do it with the girls, so that was really cool.
And
we had a common experience together.
Yeah, and and again, when you look at Ask, Seek, and Knock, it's, in a sense, God's got to get you onto the right place, and He has to connect things together. And our goal would be, will God just tell us what He should do? And He just said, well, you walk with me, and I'll start connecting some dots, and then all of a sudden, and think of, God knew this literally 10, 15, 20 years ago when Melissa was doing her stuff, is that, well, I'm going to use this specific thing for this guy. And I got to get that guy to you, and you to process, and then you to think about, oh, yeah, by the way, and God connected the dot and got him to the right spot by you.
Well, and even connecting the dot of putting Dave and Melissa together.
Yeah, that's right.
The fact that Dave had started this relationship with this guy years before, and then for it to come full circle, but this didn't occur until Melissa was in his life.
Right.
Yeah, God had a lot of work to do.
Beautiful. That's a lot. There's a lot of dot connecting there.
There was one other little piece of it too, because a lot of times we pray healing. Oh Lord, please heal. Oh Lord, please heal. Oh Lord, please heal. One of the things that God showed me was, why are you praying healing when this person is an unbeliever and doesn't know me? You need to be praying for him to come to salvation.
Right.
Which is
healing.
Far more important than the healing. And the healing can follow on the salvation, but the more important thing is their eternal destiny. And that changed my view of all of this. My first question, and Rich and I have talked about it on some of our C12 calls, where are they in their walk with God?
Right.
Right. So that's far more important in order for us to be able to do that.
Yeah. And as we, think of, and we'll catch up this next session with you guys about this, but God's always working the bigger story. And with what you guys, we want to talk to you on the next session, we'll show up a week later, would be, you guys are at the middle and the beginning of and part of a bigger story what's going on in New Hampshire. And and Dave, we can do, maybe when we do this next session, you can do a brief slight history of even how you wound up with this property, and then the things that you and I have been involved in now for many, many years, and all of a sudden there's this amazing work of God going on, and actually it's stimulated by your faithfulness, and now Melissa's joined that, and now probably God was waiting for Melissa to come.
No question about it.
Okay, now we can get somewhere. We can get somewhere. But we want to.
Can't do it on his own.
I'd like to spend the next session talking about the New Hampshire opportunity and the tremendous things that are happening with God and what you're doing to help raise money for various ministries there. And we can talk a little bit about it. We had one of them, which is Lydia's house. We had Teresa on. And Kathy and I would just say, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. 30 minutes later, okay, good, thanks.
The cool thing about what's going on in New Hampshire, it started with you.
Yeah.
Because I went on the retreat with you, and we were going through the week-long retreat, and I said, we can use New Hampshire for these.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's perfect for that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And I came to you and you said, well, let's talk about that. And we looked at it, and that started this whole process years ago. And now here we are, I don't know, 10 years of retreats that we've done, abiding, and now follow-on retreats, and how many lives have been impacted.
Oh,
and
it's
it started with you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
First retreat.
Yeah, and we're not, the one thing that we're not stupid. We do it in the peak season of fall.
Everybody wants to come.
So that's not a problem. Having people come, no problem. So.
Yeah. By the way, Melissa and I drove the Kankamangas. Yes, it was a Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
And she goes, the only places I've been here are like Walmart and Walter's Basement.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I took her to Portsmouth.
Down in Portsmouth. So I said, oh yeah, so maybe you want to see some of the beautiful parts. So we went up there, and I said, this is where Rich and Linda go in the fall, and they're driving along the Kankamangas.
Yeah,
of course, in the summer it was beautiful as well.
Yeah, it's
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that great story, and you're walking together. What a great testimony, great joy. We can see it in you, and it's wonderful that you guys are married, enjoying married life, and that you're going to have an exceptional time coming up. And we'll pick it up this next session. I want to get into this bigger story that's going on that you're right at the center of in New Hampshire, and we would like you to share this. So thank you so much for sharing your story. We love you guys, and we'll look forward to it. Father, we just praise you and thank you for what you've been doing in Dave and Melissa's life, and just the joy you're giving to them alone, the covenant life that they get to enjoy, and then they're giving it away. And may we rejoice at that, and may we hear more about what you're up to and their privilege of joining you in that work. And we thank you now in Christ's name. Amen.
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 Well, thank you for joining us, guys, and thanks for joining us, everyone. Be sure to tune in next Thursday to hear part 2 with Dave and Melissa, because there are a lot of amazing things going on in New Hampshire that you will want to hear about and pray into for sure.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow
with
for
End Times
Friday. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.